Winning a championship fixes everything, right? Wrong. In the world of the WNBA, championships often act as a pressurized lid on a boiling pot of egos, personal agendas, and deep-seated resentments. And right now, that lid is about to blow off in Las Vegas. If you look at the cameras during the trophy ceremony, you see the confetti and the smiles. But if you look at the deleted Instagram story from a team staffer posted at 3 in the morning, you see a very different reality. The Las Vegas Aces have spent the last 3 seasons being the gold standard of professional women's basketball, but Becky Hammon just pulled back the curtain on a locker room culture that she describes as toxic, and the details are more disturbing than anyone expected. We are talking about a divide between the old guard and the new wave that has left the most dominant roster in league history fractured beyond repair. To understand why the most successful coach in the league is suddenly sounding the alarm, you have to look at the receipts that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. You have to look at the specific way Becky Hammon ignored her star players during the final timeout of the clinching game. And you have to listen to the specific choice of words she used in the post-game press conference, where she didn't praise her players, but instead spoke about the burden of managing personalities that have grown larger than the team itself. This is the deep dive into the internal collapse of the Las Vegas Aces and the secret war between Becky Hammon and the superstars she built. To really grasp how we got to this point of toxicity, we have to go back to the very beginning of the Hammon era. When Becky Hammon left the San Antonio Spurs to take the head coaching job in Las Vegas, she wasn't just looking for a paycheck. She was looking to prove that her NBA pedigree could transform a talented but underachieving roster into a dynasty. And for 2 years, it worked perfectly. But success in the WNBA is a double-edged sword. As the wins piled up, so did the individual brands. We saw the rise of the point guard and the MVP campaigns. But behind the scenes, the hierarchy was shifting in a way that Hammon found uncontrollable. The first real sign of trouble didn't happen on the court. It happened on social media during the offseason. There was a specific set of liked tweets from a core rotation player that suggested the coaching staff was playing favorites with the marketing budget. This is where the old guard versus new wave narrative begins to take shape. In the WNBA, the veterans who built the league feel a sense of entitlement to the spotlight, while the new stars coming out of the massive NIL era of college basketball expect the world to revolve around them from day one. Becky Hammon is caught in the middle of a culture war that she didn't sign up for. Think back to the history these players have with each other. This isn't just about professional basketball, it is about the long memories formed in the NCAA trenches. You have players on this roster who were rivals in the Final Four years ago, and those wounds never truly healed. When you look at the body language during the mid-season slump, it became clear that certain players were refusing to set screens for others, not because of a tactical breakdown, but because of a personal grievance that dates back to a 2018 tournament game. This is the forensic drama that makes the WNBA the ultimate reality show. It is not just a game, it is a 10-year-long chess match of respect and disrespect. Becky Hammon hinted at this when she mentioned that some players are more concerned with their tunnel walk outfits than their defensive rotations. That is a direct shot at the culture of celebrity that has permeated the Aces locker room. Look at the tape from the game against the Liberty in July. There is a moment where a certain star player ignores Hammon's play call 3 times in a row. In the NBA, that might be seen as star power, but in Hammon's system, that is a declaration of war. The toxicity escalated during the late-season push for seeding. We have a podcast clip from a former teammate who stayed anonymous, but described the Aces locker room as a place where players stop speaking to each other for weeks at a time. They communicate through their agents and their social media teams. This is the hidden truth behind the headline of a winning season. You can win games on pure talent, but you cannot sustain a culture on silence. Hammon's frustration boiled over because she realized that her authority was being undermined by the very players she protected from media scrutiny. There is a specific receipt from a leaked locker room audio where you can hear a veteran player telling a rookie to stay in her place and stop talking to the media. This is the gatekeeping that the old guard uses to maintain control, but in the modern WNBA, where the new wave has more followers than the league itself, that gatekeeping is causing a total systemic failure. Hammon's decision to go public with the word toxic wasn't an accident. She is a disciple of Greg Popovich, and she knows that the only way to fix a broken culture is to burn it down and start over. But can you burn down a championship roster? The jealousy over playing time and touches is at an all-time high. When you have 4 or 5 players who all believe they should be the face of the league, you end up with a locker room where nobody is willing to be the glue. We saw this manifest in the way the bench players reacted to the starters during the trophy presentation. If you rewatch the footage, you will see 2 players standing as far away from the center of the stage as possible. They didn't want the photo op, they wanted out. This is the fallout of a championship won in spite of the culture, not because of it. The psychology of this beef is rooted in the fear of being replaced. The WNBA is growing at a record pace, and with that growth comes a new level of scrutiny and a new level of competition. The veterans on the Aces are fighting for their legacies, while the younger players are fighting for their slice of the massive new media deals flooding into the sport. Becky Hammon sees the writing on the wall. She knows that the chemistry that won the first title is gone and replaced by a cold professional distance that borders on hostility. She mentioned in an interview that the vibe was different this year, and that is coaching code for the players hate each other. Look at the way they celebrate after a big play. There are no high fives, there are no chest bumps, there are only individual poses for the cameras. That is the evidence of a team that has become a collection of brands rather than a collective unit. The smoking gun in this entire investigation is the way the team handled the trade rumors at the deadline. Sources close to the team suggest that Hammon actually pushed for a major shakeup to get rid of the toxic elements, but the front office blocked it because they didn't want to ruin the optics of a repeat run. This left Hammon coaching a team she didn't even want to be around. Imagine winning a finals game and going back to a locker room where the air is so thick with tension you can barely breathe. That is the reality Hammon exposed. She is tired of being the buffer between the egos and the winning. She is tired of the social media subliminals and the passive-aggressive comments in the post-game scrums. By calling the culture toxic, she is forcing the hands of the superstars. She is saying either you change or I'm gone. To understand the depth of this, you have to look at the Team USA snubs and how they play into the locker room dynamic. When certain players get the call and others don't, it creates a hierarchy that is impossible to manage. The players who were left off the Olympic roster feel like the coaching staff didn't campaign hard enough for them, while the players who made it feel like they are superior to their teammates. This creates a rift that no amount of winning can bridge. We saw this play out in the body language during the second half of the season. The non-Olympians stopped looking for the Olympians on the fast break. It sounds petty because it is petty, but in the high-stakes world of the WNBA, petty is the primary motivator. Becky Hammon is a winner, but she is also a purist. She wants to play the game the right way, and the Aces are currently playing the game the selfish way. The deleted evidence from the team's official TikTok, where a player caught another player rolling her eyes during a team meeting, tells you everything you need to know. It was deleted within minutes, but the fans caught it, and the message was sent. The unity is a facade. The smiles are for the sponsors. The reality is a coach who is exhausted by the constant policing of adult women who are acting like rivals instead of teammates. As we look toward the next season, the prediction for the Las Vegas Aces is a complete roster overhaul. Hammon's comments weren't just a critique, they were a resignation letter to the current era of the team. She is signaling to the rest of the league that the dynasty is vulnerable, not because of the talent of the opponents, but because of the decay from within. The culture of the WNBA is shifting, and the Aces are the first major casualty of the fame and the money that is flooding into the sport. The old guard is holding on for dear life, and the new wave is crashing against them, and Becky Hammon is just trying to stay above water. In conclusion, the Las Vegas Aces are a case study in how success can be the ultimate toxin. When you win too much, you start to believe your own hype, and you stop doing the small things that made you great. You stop respecting the coach, you stop respecting the process, and eventually, you stop respecting each other. Becky Hammon exposed the toxic culture because she knows that the truth is the only thing that can save the franchise. But the truth is also painful, and it might mean the end of the most dominant run we have ever seen in women's basketball. The receipts are all there, from the podcast clips to the social media likes to the cold shoulders on the bench. The WNBA soap opera is just beginning, and the Las Vegas Aces are the leading stars in a drama that is far from over. Watch the locker room footage from the parade and tell me if you see a team that loves each other or a team that can't wait to get away from each other. The answer is written all over their faces. Becky Hammon didn't just expose a culture, she exposed a lie. And in the world of basketball, spilled the lie is always the most interesting part of the story. Keep your eyes on the trade block, because the fallout from these comments is going to be seismic. The Aces as we know them are done, and the only question left is who will be the first to jump ship. Whether it is a star player demanding a trade or a Hammon looking for an exit strategy back to the NBA, the toxic culture of the Las Vegas Aces has claimed its first victims. This is the reality of the WNBA in 2025, where the drama off the court is just as intense as the action on it. Stay tuned, because we are just scratching the surface of what really happened in that locker room after the final buzzer sounded.